Hey, everybody, I'm Trevor,
And I'm Tom.
and this is Agency Real Talk, where we talk about how to launch your agency and scale it
For real.
because this is real talk, you see. We're very clever. If you have an agency that's doing less than $1 million a year, good news, we're in the trenches and growing our business right through that size, too.
Listen in if you want to learn what we're doing and what we've done to make our businesses more efficient and profitable as we grow. So, Trevor, what are we talking about today?
Today, this is episode 31. We're coming in, we're by now experienced pros at this, Tom. And I guess happy early Valentine's Day for those of them who uh, celebrate it, and happy, I think it's also like unofficially Happy Singles Day for folks who don't. But regardless, it's coming up in a couple days. Happy everybody. Today we're talking about, fittingly, right, leading from a distance, what you do when some other part of your life is taking priority and you aren't up in front doing all the hard work anymore. This kind of ties a bit into last week's, 2 weeks ago, last episode, episode 30, which is about burnout. But this isn't about, hey, I'm too tired to do the work. This is rather, hey, something else has come up. And like in my life, I'm doing a tremendous amount of travel all through uh, end of this month, and then also again all through late June, early July, where I'll be like in late June, early July, I'll be like 3 weeks out on the road, doing some personal life issues, and that's obviously tremendously disruptive for my team to go from my usual 50, 60 hours a week down to 30 less. I don't know. But and so I've been setting up for this, and I know also Tom, you have been talking a lot on the show about how you're stepping back as the person in front. So I was like, man, this is topical. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of different things to talk about on really just like its delegation, its evolution of your company. And at the end of the day, you don't want to be the superhero doing all the things, wearing all the hats. Your ability to make fewer decisions directly correlates to the scale that you'll be able to grow. So
And the
it's
quality of those decisions in some ways too.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Focus is a hard thing to give to somebody else, and if you can
It is.
give clarity and sort of guardrails down the lane, there you'll be able to create a culture and a group of leaders at your company that can get more done than you ever could alone, and that's the trick. That's the hard part of really setting up a good company that can grow beyond just you.
That is the literal $1 million question. I
Yeah.
think the first part of this that is really key for success is communication on it, right? With both your team, with your clients, with, I don't know, vendors, everybody. Like I'm basically shifting my day uh, to 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. is basically my availability for the last week, or I guess a week, starting I think February 27th, and then again when I'm doing that big trip in early summer. So like that, telling my team and my clients, hey, this is when I am. But beyond that, like what do you do to set up some successful, I guess, awareness slash accountability, like all the parts? As you're I think further down this path than I am. What have you been doing to get people ready for them to take more control?
Yeah, there's a couple things that you need to do as an individual and a couple things that you can do for other people. So on the other people front, one of the things that we've done really well at X-Ray is give people pilot projects that they have free reign to fully mess up, right? You give them a safe landing place to try something and to go outside their comfort zone of being given really clear instruction, to being given really fluffy outcomes that they're trying to create, and it's not really clear how they're going to solve that. You had a great hierarchy of clarity of task versus being able to create that output. I'd love for you to share that today too, but like that's some of the things that we've really focused on is, okay, what's a really simple project, straightforward project that someone can find a solution to on their own without me, my co-founder, needing to be directly involved in every decision along the way to create an outcome. So giving somebody a safe place to experiment is definitely one of the tactics that we've used.
Love that. That is good. We have, I mean, it's probably a little different for you at X-Ray. I have a couple of companies where, like the one I'm an advisor on, right? Like I'm on their board of advisors. I've got whatever little equity stake in the company, and some of what Crowd Tamers does, I'm having them do for them. But then I'm also saying, hey, we need to pioneer this new process. These guys aren't paying us, right?
Mm,
So we have room there to be like, hey, this should go well. We hope it will go well. If it doesn't go well, like we'll catch it as fast as we can. But also, like you're a guinea pig. Sorry, bro. And that gives us, when we're trying out new things, like we have a new tool we're going to be using to buy ads. And I've never used this tool before to buy ads. Maybe it's great. Maybe it sucks. We're going to find out how it does for both the buying and the reporting.
yeah.
And then, I mean, we'll continue to double check in the actual front end of the tools to be like, did the ad buy go correctly? Did it target the way we wanted to? Is the reporting making sense? And then if the tool sucks, I mean, sorry, you lost out on a month of better targeting and reporting. Their budget is like $300 a month, so there's not not a big spend for them anyway.
Yeah.
And it is just a like, if it works for you, then we'll pick another client and start to make this a process that we roll out throughout everything. And I agree, having that in that case, my low stakes client there is a good guinea pig for a new thing, because if I make him mad enough where he leaves, which doesn't seem likely, but if I do, it cost me no money. So, okay. Sorry, Alex, if you're listening. I don't hate you. You're just convenient.
But I do want you to mention really quick though the framework that you shared with me years ago around like clarity of task and sort of ability to solve that. Can you just talk
Ah,
about that for a second?
yes. So there we have a little, it's actually in our company onboarding manual. We have a little XY axis, and it goes to the stakes of the problem and the breadth of the problem is kind of how we evaluate if you can hand something off down the chain, right? If something is easily reversible, and for easily reversible, I mean things like it doesn't cost money to fix, or if it costs money, it costs currently under $1,000, right? I will refund a client $1,000 if we screw up. Um, if it costs under $1,000 to fix,
Yeah.
then that is a low stakes problem. And then who needs to show up to fix it, right? If it's just you who can fix it, versus if you have to get somebody from a different crew involved, or God help you, you got to get me involved, right? Then that is the severity of the problem. If it is you can fix it and you don't have to spend a lot, if you make a mistake, just do it, right? You are empowered. Go. And if a mistake happens, we had one last week for a client where an ad buy happened and the landing page wasn't correct. Indeed, the landing page was deleted by the client after we turned the ads on, and we didn't catch it for a day, because why would you assume a client, actually a week, why would you assume a client removes the landing page that you send traffic to, right? And so at the end, I'm like, I think it was $500 in spent. Here's your money back. Right, let's go. Okay. Um, the learning mechanism there was very, very rarely do we not tell the client when we announce the ad buy in their channel the landing page we're going to.
Hmm.
And that was one of the times we didn't, right? And so they didn't know the landing page we were going to. They deleted the page as superfluous. Whoops. And the fix was just, hey, we'll refund you the money. Don't worry about it. They didn't have to get me involved for that fix
Yeah,
because they know
your
the dollar
team
amount.
refunded the money. Like they
Yeah.
knew
I
that
mean, the
they
refund
screwed
will
up.
come when I basically, in truth, we're crediting them against their next invoice. But like, whatever.
Sure,
That
sure.
refund
Money's
is
money, though.
happening.
I mean, credit is
Money is money. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And they just said, we'll take, like, here you go, right? That's what's going to happen, because they know $1,000 or under. If we made the screw up, just go, right? And
right.
having that means, I mean, they were talking to uh, not to the owner, right? But to hear an employee say, yeah, the $500 we'll just credit against next invoice, no problem. And then, I mean, they have to make sure I know to fix the invoice, because I'm still the bookkeeper, which should not be the case, but here I am. I'm still the bookkeeper, so I have to catch that. But that they were comforted to say it, also, it tells the client that this is a trusted team member, which is
Yeah,
also important, because if every big decision has to come back up to me, then your team members are flunkies, right? And then the client will interact with them, they'll only interact with you. That's
Hmm.
not what you want either. That is, that delegation of authority needs to be visible to the client, not just something internal. Otherwise, they will still always come to you. And I've been like pushing the last 2 months now, really, clients to say, hey, look, go talk to the relevant team member when you have a question. If you ask me one, my answer is always going to be, that's a good question. Go ask it to person rather than answer it, even if I know the answer, because I
Right.
want them to get used to talking to those people. Because I know, particularly if I'm, driving for 6 hours on a random day, because that's part of what we're doing for all this travel, I'm not going to be on Slack checking how things are going because that's illegal in the United States.
Yeah, but that's a really good example of giving your team a really clear upper limit of things
Yeah,
that they can make a decision within, right? If there's a screw up, you have the ability to remedy financially at least under $1,000. I think that more recently at X-Ray we've been dealing with much more specific tactical delegations
hmm,
inside of like strategy things, which have been harder to put bounds on. So like the types of stage names, for example, inside of a CRM, right? There's 1,000 different ways to do that. There's no
sure,
particularly
yeah,
right or particularly wrong way, but somebody ultimately needs to be the owner of that. Who is that
hmm,
person, and how do they stay informed from other people that use the system to actually reflect what it is that everybody wants, and also still lead in a way that is intentional. There's an acronym, pretty basic. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but RACI, responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. RACI, right? It's a great framework of thinking, who is ultimately responsible for this decision. Um, who needs to be held accountable if the decision is poor, right? Usually that's the same person, but it could be an escalation if you need to. um,
fundamentally, as the owners of small companies, we're accountable for every decision. So,
Yeah, right, right. So exactly. At this point, Trevor and I, we're holding the shit umbrella for lack of a better term.
yes.
And then consulted is just everyone who is touched by the process, right? If they have an informed opinion, they should be consulted in deciding the way a process works, the way a certain outcome takes shape. And then informed is, hey, broader team. You might not be touching XYZ system, but you should be aware of this decision that we've collectively made. And in the event that you end up on this team or touch this system, you at least have this, little thin piece of context. So yeah, RACI is a pretty good acronym
I like it.
for keeping
I've
everybody
never heard
informed.
it before.
Really,
I like it. Yeah.
it's a business school exclusive, I guess.
Yeah, well, I didn't go to business school. I went to marketing school. Actually, I went to liberal arts school. Anyway, um,
The valuable things,
so
really.
okay, I think we're firmly in like discussing, right? So you give the team this power. You have this framework
Yeah.
uh, for racy behavior, not the way it sounds, but rather making sure that not that we're discussing how short the mini skirts should be, but rather we're delegating authority properly. This is not that type of racy. And I think after that, right, so your team is empowered. How do you build client trust in your
Mm,
team? I'll give an example I have right now. I have one of my clients working with a team member, didn't like their experience and has gone back and forth with the team member and then dropped me a very detailed piece of feedback on their experience with the team member. And now, like for me, I've got one, the benefit of every call in my company is recorded.
hmm
So now I can go back and see what the team member is saying, what this person is saying, and what I perceive in the call, and begin to figure out, is this a one point of data? Right? Is this just a bad fit in this customer and this person? Is there a miscommunication happening? Like, what is my next step? I don't even know yet. I've got to go take, I don't know, an hour or two and go look through these videos to begin to understand what's happening. But that's a one-off. It's not every time this team member talks to a client. Um, so like there's that client doesn't have trust. That's fine. Other clients still want to interact with people. How do you make it where these clients are trusting your team enough and not saying no? I'll only work with you because you're the the impressively facially haired founder.
Yeah. I think first impressions and expectation setting on my part are really important, right? I'm very direct in saying, hey, I'm not going to be working on your project. There's other people that are, more talented, more focused, more in the right headspace to do this type of thing. Part of it is gassing the team up directly to the client, right? So they're excited to meet these other people, and you should be excited to give your team the opportunity to work with this client, right? It's always a two-way fit. So the client you're validating, in my case, leading sales for now, validating that the client is somebody that my team should be willing to work with, and being excited about the team members that are going to be assigned on this project. So giving them that peace of mind, that confidence, that I have confidence in them, usually transfers really, really well. And just like with our clients, we really try to make them look like superstars, right? When we deliver work for them, our point of contact looks like the hero inside of their organization, because look at all this stuff that X-Ray was able to accomplish on their watch. And I try to do the same thing for the engineers. So when I'm on a sales call, I'm queuing up the solution for them to be able to knock down immediately and have all the context they need to look like they were a part of the solution from the beginning, right? They didn't miss a step in the handoff, and that smooth transition, I think, gives the client so much excitement and confidence in the engineer, even though it's not me.
Gotcha, gotcha. So okay, setting that expectation is like I've been working to not be the one who's central, right? I've been making that switch over the last 90 days, having my team do the onboarding calls and me basically say, hey, here's this person. I probably can work on gassing people up. You know me, Tom. I am not an effusive person. And so I'm like, do they do the job? Well, I hired them. Yes. Did you want better than that? I'm sorry. I've hired them. They must be good at their
Couple
job. They're still
phrases
here.
would go a long way. A couple, you do have a really good team. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard
I
to brag
do.
about.
It's not. It's not. I mean, I've got my GTM team crew lead used to work for Unilever and Mastercard, and has managed tremendous budgets. And has now built a dozen $1 million marketing engines herself. The person in charge of my social engine team is a Cambridge graduate with like 500 degrees. I can't keep track of them all. Like great credentialism, but I'm always like, are they good enough to work for me? Yes, then shut up. That's all you need to know, which is not the right way
Doesn't
to be
really
about it.
transfer the
Doesn't
oomph.
really transfer it. And but I am. So I'll take that as a note for me, along with racy methodology. Um, be better at gassing up my team on calls, but uh, letting them lead visibly, right? Sales call is done, and I'm still in the call with clients for the first 90 days, but I'm really trying to be like, I'm here for questions and for double checking things. But on the day to day for what's going on, they're going to talk about it because they know what's going on. I'm the strategic layer that's driving the choices at hey, we've done this for the client. What's the next step to do? Like I look at the reporting the same as the client does and then see what the next step should be. I'm not in the day to day anymore. And for most clients, they get that and they're cool with it. I think I've still got to work with some of the clients who I've had for a while
Yeah.
and convince them, right? Make this change of authority a little more gracefully. Because I mean, I've got some clients I've been with since we were a 4-person team, right? And now we're 9. Like stuff needs to get pushed away, and they're still like, "No, Trevor, we want to work with you one on one." I'm like, "You don't
You
want to
don't
work
though.
with me one on one. I
You
don't know what
don't.
I'm doing anymore." Like
It sounds like you shouldn't be on those calls anymore. It sounds
maybe,
like whatever the strategic, insight that you want to share with your team happens at a pre-client meeting, and
maybe
and then like you allow them to give the strategic update news, because like just
they
being on,
do.
being on the call, it just it raises the question: are you fully trusting the team?
Oh, fair
Um,
enough. I guess I'm like Linus with his security blanket. Still Maybe that's part of it. That's a good point. And I think for our newer clients that are coming on board, I am definitely more aggressive about like get away.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
like that. Like
No, it's
these
but
people,
like
these
you're just not
people
gonna be able to
lead,
help
right?
them,
Yeah,
right? You just can't help them as much.
not as much. No.
it's there's a reason why you have a team, and they're
Yeah,
a
like
lot better than you on the execution side.
I had 15 calls yesterday. Like yesterday, if somebody wanted work out of me yesterday, they were SOL.
Yeah,
Right? Today
you
was a
think?
light day. There's only 9,
Yeah,
and so getting clients to see like I'm in sales mode these days, right? I'm booking 10 to 15 calls a week right now through all my various systems to like talk to people, which is great, but also means if you want me to deliver stuff, like no. And I'm gonna trim that way back while I'm traveling because I can't be taking calls while I'm dodging through traffic. All right. Um, I think that does bring up though, right? So I've got some clients who refuse to let go of me. Maybe I'm refusing to let go of some clients. Um, I've got everyone will have some clients who don't gel with certain team members. Fine, whatever. How do you set up safeguards to make sure that while you're not leading from the front, you at least know if things are going well or poorly?
yeah. So that's a great question. Safeguards in a system that you are not in the critical path for
Yeah,
is really where the magic is made. Part of it is good project management, which is notoriously difficult and looks different at every organization, size and scale.
oh yeah,
Project management is just tricky because doing work about the work you're doing just kind of sucks. So
yeah,
a lot of people don't update that stuff. But the better of the two, project management being one, the second being weekly calls with the team for that is like status purpose driven, right? You're talking about every single client A to Z and what got done, what is up next, and any blockers that actually happen that you need help with. So at least on a weekly cadence, there's not going to be too much drift between where you should be and where you are.
yeah.
But having that asynchronous, conversation thread is fine as well. Of course, on Slack or Teams or whatever. But having that at least weekly stand up where you go through every single person and everyone who's managing any client work is on that call allows everybody to kind of be a little bit vulnerable, right? Say like this actually isn't working and or I'm a little ahead, I have time, I can chip in to something that you're working on. It just allows for that flex capacity and for people to help each other out because at the end of the day, again, Trevor, you and I should not be making those decisions. So what
Right.
how do you create a system where the team can help each other without you? You should be the last person to talk, right? It's like those types of little things that add up over time and help your team build confidence in each other as opposed to your team having confidence in you. That's not the problem. Everybody else should be able to help each other, and then you can
Mm.
quietly move on to other things that you can put a lot of focus on and hopefully create more leverage than dealing with XYZ individual thing.
Yeah, I have had. It's a great moment when you see this happen. It may be a little bit scary. Uh, so I've got three people who effectively run a crew in my team. That's what we call like our individual like client services delivery units. And they all decided last week we need a central dashboard of all client metrics that we can see. And uh, so they had a meeting on Monday. I don't take Monday meetings. They had a meeting on Monday. They talked about it, and they were like, "So this is what we think this dashboard needs to have." And they've kind of specced out what delivery looks like, and they're now like, "I want to see their full design doc, which they're wrapping up by Friday, and I'm going to see like, great, what did y'all do? Do I have anything useful to contribute, or do I just say go with it, and we'll see what reporting out on the back end looks like, right?" Because as clients are now like my goal for almost every client I bring on board, I've got three kind of independent but useful to each other types of delivery we do for clients. We have ads, we have content, and we have outbound. And any of these works independently, and we land clients, we close contracts there. But then the goal for all of them is to sell them into doing all three, right? And so if you're delivering for a client in just one area, the other teams seeing what's working and what's not in your area can influence their decision making.
Hmm.
So they're trying to come up with a way to share this information so that this is what's working on ads, on messaging, right? So put this in your outbound, this kind of thing. And it's been me who's been passing that info along, and I'm not supposed to be the person. And all three of these team captains are like, Trevor, you need to not be the person because you had no meetings on Monday and 15 meetings on Tuesday. We can't use you for things. We have to know this. Like that kind of delivery, right? The team is doing this stuff, and I'm saying, yeah, go do it, rather than being like, hey, let me get involved in what you're building. I very much want to say, let me see what you've built,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
then offer maybe a little advice on it. But honestly, if it's 80% of what I think you need, I'm going to say good job,
yeah.
and you can figure the rest out as you go. Because not my job to. I mean, they're all intelligent, motivated, driven people. They want to make this right. That they came up with the idea on their own, awesome. I hadn't thought of it. It's great to see someone propose a cool idea you didn't think of, and they're going to make it happen. I'm like, phenomenal. But then you're also like, in a year's time, what do I contribute to this company if they're taking care of everything? I'll solve that when I get there.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have for sure. That's a good problem to have. But the another way to look at it is you if you were to dictate, hey, we need a dashboard to see everything, right? You're kind of robbing them of the learning experience and
Yeah,
robbing them of the ability to have that moment, that idea, that contribution, grow that confidence, grow that focus and vision to say, this is what I think we need. And especially in an agency context, so much is always relied on for the founder to set the
yeah,
vision, direction, whatever the next invention is. If you have a team that comes to you with ideas and a willingness to try it, and it's okay to burn pancakes, you can make more, right? This is such a better way of creating a culture at an organization that does things beyond what you can do. If you want to just do things that you can do, be a freelancer, be an independent consultant. There's plenty of people that can do that. But if you are working with a team and trying to create a company with multiple people that is going to grow and scale and flourish, the more decisions that everyone can contribute to, the better. So I'm really happy to hear that. That's super exciting for you that your team is
yeah.
taking that on.
They're off doing that. Uh, it is really interesting bringing in this team captain layer and multiple of them, where they're now kind of bouncing ideas off each other and agreeing on some things and disagreeing on others. And then my role shifts from delivery to herding cats a little bit, but also just getting stuff out of the way of people, and saying, hey, okay, where do you want to go? How do I just make sure that there's no blockers on your way, and you tell me how it went?
But so that team leader type position, right? How do you know that that person is ready to be a team leader?
Uh, Honestly, in many ways, it comes back to your little build a safe place to fail,
Mm,
right? You start with, hey, like, so for all of them, uh, it started as, hey, here's the little bit of the machine, right? Take some ownership of it, and then how do you improve on it a bit? What do you do to make this better? Let's talk about it, right? Here's the parts that are documented, the parts that are not. How do we make sure this is becoming coherent?
yeah.
And then as they get more and more understanding of what the system should be, and begin to say, well, I think it maybe should be here instead, you go, try it, right? I mean, fundamentally, for now, for crowd tamers, right, we're not quite landing a new client a week, but we're coming pretty close to that. And as we're scaling up a bunch of things I'm doing, we're going to be more than a client a week. And at that point, like, of course, we don't want to deliver bad service for a client. But if we try something new and we screw it up and the client leaves, it's also like, there's another one next week, right? Like, it's not,
What did you learn?
I'm, I'm not heartless about it, right? We had a client leave last week. And like, I learned a couple of things from it. One of them is coaching clients, not a good fit for me. Just because of what they're selling, what their business is, and what they need versus what we deliver. Like, we work in B2B services really well, but not
Yeah,
for them.
yeah.
And like, okay, now we know don't take any of those on, right? It's a
Yeah.
learning experience. And I mean, not, you never want to do badly by a client, right? But on the other hand, every mistake is an opportunity, and it's okay to burn a pancake because there's always more pancakes.
Yeah.
And when you've got a agency where you are constantly making more pancakes, well, that's your opportunity to say, okay, we made a mistake with that one. That's okay. I've got somebody signing a contract tomorrow, right? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
one goes out, one comes in. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. The in the technical space, it's been interesting to see the balance between uh, the people that can fix or build anything that they need. That's not necessarily the problem. There's a different problem, right? Where there's like maybe some social skill or some strategy components that are needing refinement. So there's this really senior. We have a really senior person coming into low code engineers, for example, has built tons of stuff, enormous systems with actual code, right? Low code engineers is doing automation and AI work for small businesses and companies on an hourly basis. But this really experienced full blown developer is like, this is interesting. I want to learn more about this. And we were working on an AI focused project the other day, and he was sort of riding shotgun, right? And we were building together with the client live on the call. That's collaborative building's the name of the game for low code engineers.
Yeah,
And after the call, I asked him, I was like, oh, so how would you have approached this? What did you learn during the call or whatever? And he was focused on, well, I mean, I would have opened up my terminal. I would have opened up Cursor. I would have opened up,
yeah,
code. I would have written some code. And the caveat here is like, hold on, context specific. Like, we're not trying to solve the problem entirely. We're trying to solve it in a way that the client can control it and manipulate it and evolve it
yeah,
over time. We're trying to teach them and build with them. And that kind of disqualifies half of the potential solutions because they're not going to write code. They're not going to open Cursor. So you got to do
yeah,
it in a different type of way. And this is a person, right, that you're trying to put in a leadership position, but
yeah,
there's like a strategy component that needs to be thought about in that context. So it's a safe place to fail. I do think that is a really great way of going about growing talent in a way that you can delegate to and eventually take the wheel. I
yeah,
don't want to drive anymore.
yeah.
It's a really empowering feeling when you can get there.
It is. And I was talking, and I think like we need to have on maybe our next chat or one of the ones coming up, uh, specifically about team like all hands and coordination between them because I
Mm,
think there's a strategy to it. We did our first one where all three crews kind of talked to each other about what happened, and some parts of it went well and some parts didn't. It did actually. The internal reporting dashboard idea was a direct result of that call,
wow.
where they all talked about it and went, "We need this," and then went off and did it. But I think some of how we did this also, like I'm sure I did stuff wrong. It was our first time. Um, but anyway, that when I was in that call, I was mentioning how like my GTM crew, which is the largest crew of the three, like there's a machine right now. We've changed a bunch of stuff in the
Yeah.
back end,
Yeah.
and so it's a bit unoptimized, but you can look at it and see a machine running.
Sure.
And for Social Engine, our kind of content production crew, there's a blueprint, and we're kind of following the blueprint in some places and kind of not, but we know what to build towards. And then for automations and outbound, we have a napkin sketch. Like we know what all the pieces probably look like, and we're putting it all together. But we're a long way from a client comes on board, and a week later everything's going. Like
Yeah.
we're not there yet.
Yeah.
And having the team members of each of these kind of aware where they are in the process of building a finished thing that is productized is also really important because the less defined your process is, the more failure there is just inherently because
Hmm.
we don't know what the heck we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And making them comfortable with, hey, do the bits we know, do your best guess on the bits we don't, and then when you fail, report back so we know what to do differently next time.
Yeah.
And that's again, there's a lot of trust down through the whole team there to say, even though, like, not just is the team captain making mistakes, I'm the agency owner. I'm making mistakes on strategic calls and stuff because we don't know yet, right? Once
Yeah.
we've done, like, I've built $100+ million marketing engine, right? This thing is defined. We've done 2 dozen content engines now, I think, maybe a little less, 18. There's a lot we're still learning there
Yeah.
about how to make it all work and how we set expectations and like all of it. So to tell them, look, everyone in the command chain here knows the blueprint but doesn't really know what we're doing on the day to day is also like it's a safe space to fail because we've all agreed we are, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, it's
that
important that you
also,
own that. Yeah.
yeah,
It's important that they see that you are willing to fail and admit failure or admit suboptimal results, right? And it's
yeah,
like the point is not that something is not working out. The point is what it taught you because it wasn't
yes,
working out, right?
yeah,
And the other thing that came up this week actually for us was how long or what is the time horizon that you are trying to make this decision for and on? So, are you trying to solve the problem permanently forever, right? And you need to solve that problem, a systems problem or whatever problem or reporting problem by the end of the week, and it's going to be perfect for the rest of time? Probably not,
oh,
right?
probably not.
Are you trying to have a first iteration by the end of next week that you analyze and revisit next quarter, right? Like what is the time horizon, the longevity of these decisions so that you can revisit and recalibrate, and that relieves a lot of pressure for people because like the unspoken default is forever. Right, the
Yeah, that's
unspoken
true.
default is I'm solving this. We're gonna have a perfect analytics dashboard, and we're never gonna change it again. Kinda would be nice, probably not, but like how can you further define how long these decisions are going to be tested for and then
Yeah,
revisit and create that healthy habit of conversation and of incremental improvement.
that's a good point too. Yeah, I was negotiating a contract with somebody, uh, and they're like, "Hey, so you want to do a rev share? That's fine. What's the rev share lockup for?" I'm like, "12 months, whatever. It's fine." And then the guy who I was co-negotiating with is like, "Why in the world would you put a 12-month lockup on it?" I'm like, "Honestly, I don't believe in revenue beyond 90 days. I don't believe in anything beyond 90 days. It's all fiction past there, right? So every decision I make is really, is it just good enough for right now?" And uh, in my team, some people have that mindset, and I think most don't,
Mm,
because the founder mindset of uh, people talk about it's ADHD. I don't think it is. It's just a ruthlessness to like, what's the most important thing to fix right now? And then if I fixed it right now, there's 100 other things on fire. I'm going to go fix one of them. And that founder mindset is really successful at this stage of a company, right? A million, a
yeah,
couple million. But then you do need those people who come and say, yes, but how do I document the forever process?
yeah,
That is going to be the one that the team uses for the next 2 years, and which will scale from 2 million to $20 million a year.
yeah.
Like those people are valuable, but they are not the ones who go explore a frontier either. And you
No,
need both.
you
You need
need
to
both.
trust both, and you need to give them empowerment to do their part.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well,
Awesome.
Trevor,
Well,
this was
Tom,
a fiery conversation.
this was great. We were on fire. I love it. I don't know. So 2 weeks out, I'll be traveling 2 weeks out from now. So our usual scheduled time, I'm not available because I'll be in Florida or on the way back driving a gigantic Tacoma F350 nonsense, a truck the size of a house. So, you know, I won't be on this call. But after that, we'll find a time. We'll resume these things. I think we will have a pause for some personal life stuff as well by the time that I'm back from my trip. So we
Oh,
might be a
super.
while before we see the next call. So like I'll miss our live subscribers, live viewers. Hello, all live viewers. I will miss our social snippet sharing. But despite an interregnum, we shall return. I look forward to having another one of these with you then.
Trevor, the feeling is mutual. Have a safe trip, and I'll talk to you soon.
See y'all around.